Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. When foreigners obtain work visas in the U.S., they often bring their children with them. But when those children become adults, their options are limited.
You can grow up in America completely legally, but then once you turn 21, you lose that freedom.
One hope is the America's Children Act, now before Congress. We visit with an IU graduate student who was doing research in her native Ukraine when Russia invaded 3 months ago.
Basically, we also reoriented ourselves a little bit to becoming volunteers. So we have been like full-time volunteers with like a flavor of researchers.
And we talk with an economist about the latest interest rate hike and what it means for everyday Hoosiers. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Perry Metz, in for the vacationing Joe Wren. Coffee connoisseurs from Indianapolis are raising money to support the city's Jewish community with an Anti-Fascist Coffee Club. As Mitch Legan reports, this comes in response to the launch of a new Indiana coffee company in Brown County with white nationalist ties.
Indianapolis Coffee Guide, a popular online blog that highlights the city's independent coffee scene, is partnering with a local artisan to produce mugs with the phrase Anti-Fascist Coffee Club. A portion of the sales will go to the ACLU of Indiana, and there will be a matching donation to the Indianapolis Jewish Community Relations Council.
I just wanted to let you see some of the process that goes into making the Anti-Fascist Coffee Club mugs.
Scott Soltis Curry runs the blog and says it's in response to a new coffee roaster out of Brown County called Above Time Coffee Roasters. He says the company's branding makes multiple Nazi allusions.
I noticed very quickly that it was already upsetting people, and it just goes against everything that I believe in.
Sarah Dye is the owner of the new company, which is set to start taking online orders in July. Dye also runs Schooner Creek Farm, which left the Bloomington Farmers Market in 2019 after activists protested her alleged ties to white supremacist groups. The company says on Twitter it'll ensure its coffee is not kosher certified and that the products are made, quote, for our people, by our people. Dye didn't respond to requests for comment.
No neo-Nazis in the market.
Schooner Creek hasn't returned to the farmers market since. A market representative said they'd been accepted as a potential vendor, but haven't signed a contract to actually sell their products at the city-run market.
I am not allowed to punish someone. As a government, we can't punish people for what they believe, and that's an important concept. But I also don't have to promote anything or talk about any people who are trying to promote a product related to a hateful ideology, and I'm not going to do that.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
Soltis Curry says the mugs are on pre-order now to gauge interest for the project before production ramps up. We've been feeling the effects of soaring inflation at the gas pump, grocery store, and just about everywhere. Wednesday, the Federal Reserve acted, raising the interest rate 0.75%, its biggest single-day hike since 1994. That means the interest rates you pay will be going up. Mortgage rates, for example, are now above 6%, almost double what they were 6 months ago. The stock market reacted by falling below 30,000 for the first time since January 4th, 2021. We're joined now by Robert Mulligan, a professor of economics at IU East, for more. Professor, What does the latest interest rate hike mean for everyday Hoosiers?
Well, because interest rates will be higher, it will be more expensive to borrow money. And that's going to especially punish people that finance a lot of their consumption expenditures out of revolving consumer credit. It's going to encourage people not to carry high credit card balances, which are an extremely expensive form of borrowing anyway. Now they're going to be even worse. So the other thing that I think is going to have a major impact will be on the housing market, because mortgage interest rates are almost twice what they were a few months ago. That's going to have a depressive effect on housing prices, which have been skyrocketing. It's going to make the housing market much less of a seller's market than it's been the last couple of years.
What is the Fed trying to accomplish by raising the interest rate now?
Well, they're doing this to fight inflation. And in fact, the reason that they've raised interest rates by so much this most recent round, by 0.75%, is because we got two very bad, very high inflation reports in a row. Their most recent increase before that was only 0.5%, 50 basis points. And it was clear that that was not effective in slowing down the rate of increase in prices. Right now, interest rates are still abnormally low. The federal funds rate is way below its sustainable level of about 3 to 4%. And it's going to take a while to raise interest rates up to a level that will actually effectively put an end to this inflationary episode, because it's going to, slow down business activity and possibly trigger a recession. There's a considerable concern about whether the Fed will raise interest rates as far and as fast as they need to go to bring inflation under control.
You drive, find all that.
At the same time, we have seen the stock market lose 20% of its value this year, and that certainly affects retirement plans. How worried should people be whose savings are tied to the market?
Well, it depends on how far along in your earning career you are. If you're very close to retirement, what you should be doing is moving your assets into things like bonds that are much less volatile than stocks. When prices are going up, stocks tend to go up in value, and often, a protracted period of inflation will cause the stock market to go up, roughly comparably to it. However, stocks are very volatile, and a thing like this, raising interest rates, cutting back on the money supply in order to fight inflation, this is something that tends to reduce business activity and makes the stock market.
While this is doing its thing,
it's unfortunately also having a similar effect on a lot of other assets that are perceived relatively safe.
Oh, wait a minute.
Like, for example,
you're in the media drive. I was just thinking I'm going to
bonds and most recently cryptocurrencies, which are have been revealed to be at least as volatile as stocks.
On the right click.
Thank you very much. We appreciate having your perspective on this.
My pleasure.
The U.S. issues thousands of work visas each year. Some visa holders work long-term and bring their children with them. But for those children who have spent most of their lives and been educated in the U.S., no clear path to citizenship exists. Bente Buthe files this report.
That's the situation facing Lay and Kushi Patel, who have lived most of their lives in Lebanon, Indiana. They moved with their parents to the U.S. as children, and their parents own and run a hotel here. They say most of their childhood friends didn't understand obtaining a green card wasn't a matter of getting in line and asking.
It must be that easy, right? But that's not the case at all. Most people are unaware of there not being a pathway to citizenship for youth who grew up here.
Both attend college at IU Bloomington. Lay will be a senior and Kushi a sophomore. Lay was a dependent on his parents' long-term work visa until he aged out at 21. He then took a student visa. Kushi, still under 21, remains a dependent, but expects to follow in her brother's footsteps aging out. She wants to go to medical school and become a doctor. She says lack of status in the U.S. limits opportunities since she can't apply for most jobs and internships.
And I realized that I can't even go work at the nursing home like my friends are doing, or go help at the hospital, do an internship. There's just so many opportunities that are already getting taken away from me, not because I wasn't qualified to do the job or get the experience, but I'm not even given the chance to apply.
Their situation isn't unique, as roughly 200,000 children of long-term visa holders face aging out of their parents' visa. And if they don't plan to attend university, their options to remain in the U.S. with their families are limited. Kushi was a member of the Lebanon Youth Council, which worked with the mayor. She doesn't want to leave the community where she has invested herself. She was the president of the council her senior year, helping organize a painted mural representing local youth near the town's main trail.
It's kind of just like a modern day combination of like things that are important now to us as youth, but also like a lot of traditions.
Even though their parents work and own a business here, and Indiana's where they've grown up, their parents' work visas mean they're international students. And that classification comes with its own challenges. One stipulation of the F1 student visa is proving ties to your home country.
However, for us, we've grown up in the US and this is where our home address is. So it's hard to prove that, you know, we're not going to remain here after we graduate, or that we even have ties to our country that we came from.
Lay isn't sure what he's going to do when he's finished with school and no longer on a student visa. He's looking at other visa categories and hopes to get an employer to sponsor him for the H-1B lottery. But odds for getting picked in the lottery hover around 23%. He's an economics and cinema major with minors in finance and political science, and wants to work someday in D.C. on immigration reform. He and Kushi were both in D.C. this spring, lobbying for the America's Children Act. The legislation would provide a path to citizenship for children who were brought to the U.S. as dependents on their parents' visas, have lived here for 10 years, and have graduated from an American university. They met with lawmakers, including Senators Todd Young and Mike Braun, asking them to sign on to the legislation. Christy Popp is an immigration lawyer here in Bloomington. She says the act would protect those who fall into the categories it addresses, but the categories are very specific. She's not confident the act will pass, and says she wants more visas to be made available.
If Congress allowed there to be more visas available, then we wouldn't have these long waits, and there would be no risk of young people aging out. So I think that is a more important legislative change, is just for Congress to add more visas so that there aren't these issues of aging out.
Lay and Kushi hope the act is passed by Congress by December, when Lay graduates. They believe it would benefit Indiana and the country as a whole to keep children educated and raised here.
It doesn't make sense for well-educated kids that have been raised in this country, brought up by the American education system, to leave, to go to other countries and use all their potential there when they could be benefiting their home, what is truly their home themselves.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Benta Boutier.
Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. County residents against annexation are citing the pandemic as a reason for more time to gather remonstrance petitions. And we visit with an IU grad student in Ukraine who turned from researcher to volunteer when Russia invaded. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Public media's role now is more than ever to get the facts out, to be as transparent as possible, and to tell the truth as we know it.
There's a lot of information out there, and it's really hard to know what you can believe, which is why I think people turn to us again and again.
It's public media's role to try to help educate and enlighten.
PBS continues to be one of the most trusted institutions in the country.
We really do go out and meet the moment as it's happening.
We are there at the front lines asking tough questions and getting important and robust answers.
We're playing a major role in combating lies, fake news.
As journalists, we are trying to bring the most fair coverage that we possibly can.
It's about digging deeper and talking to the powerful and especially to the powerless.
Public media is the place where you cut through all the noise.
We move forward by staying true to our values.
And on PBS, news is human.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. We're joined now by Holden Absher for the latest headlines from around the state. Welcome to the show, Holden.
Thank you, Perry. Monroe County residents against annexation say remonstrators should have more time to file petitions to stop annexation in areas 1A and 1B due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as Pat Bean reports, attorneys from Bunger and Robertson filed responses last week to arguments filed by the city of Bloomington.
The new legal filing says Indiana state law outlines circumstances under which extensions of time may be granted for official proceedings, including emergencies such as war, insurrection, or pestilence. County residents against annexation say several remonstrators contracted COVID-19, resulting in an unfair annexation process.
I believe that 1A did achieve more than 65% of the property owner's signatures in the remonstration process, and we're reviewing the disallowed signatures.
Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton says many things continued throughout the pandemic, and COVID doesn't invalidate the annexation process. If the court sides with the plaintiffs, residents in annexation areas 1A and 1B could be granted an extension on remonstrance petitions. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Pat Bean.
Catalent Bloomington is changing to 12-hour shifts for its workers. The new schedule includes built-in mandatory overtime. The changes begin in the end of August. Catalent is also planning to reduce more than 200 temporary positions over the next 6 weeks. And still, the company says it remains committed to investing millions of dollars into Bloomington and creating new jobs. Indiana University President Pamela Whitten says the university will soon start strategic planning for what IU will be in the next 50 years. Whitten was the keynote speaker at a Bloomington Chamber of Commerce meeting this week. She says IU is at an exciting crossroads thinking about the future. Whitten says IU is currently in the preparation stage and explaining why, reducing uncertainty, and helping people understand that the status quo won't help them or others.
We're all going to have the courage to face those things so that we can move ahead and, again, do the best by our students and the other goals that we have as an institution.
Whitten says her priorities are student success and experience, IU's role as a research institution, and service to the state. High-speed internet is coming to almost all of Bloomington, and a new internet service provider could offer it in town as soon as this year. Bloomington City Council voted 8-1 Wednesday in favor of a project that promises to bring 1 gigabit per second to at least 85% of Bloomington. Meridian is investing $50 million into the network.
If we did it, we'd have to take out $50 or $70 million bond. And then if it went belly up, we'd be on the hook for that.
Meridian is not providing internet, it's just building the fiber system. Instead, it will exclusively lease the system to another company for 5 to 7 years, and after this time, any ISP will be able to use the infrastructure. Councilmember Dave Rallo voted against the project. He pushed city staff on why Meridian's contract is for 85% of residents when Comcast says it already services 98% of the city.
Essentially, what we're doing is we're intervening in the marketplace through kind of a form of tax abatement to give preferential treatment to a company that has committed 85% coverage, which I feel is insufficient.
Meridian plans to begin laying fiber later this year, with some residents online before 2023. A federal nutrition waiver that allows schools to provide all students with free meals is set to expire at the end of the month. The waiver allows schools to participate in the seamless summer option during the regular school year. Monroe County Community School Corporation Food Services Director Matt Tornell says the MCCSC food program is financially self-sustaining, and the corporation will do what it can with state-provided entitlements to ensure that prices aren't raised unnecessarily.
We will probably see a modest increase in the paid price for breakfast and lunch, but we haven't seen, an increase in that price since the 2019 school year.
In March, Congress failed to pass a measure that would have extended the waiver. Indiana's former athletic director is taking on a new role as the CEO of Gleaner's Food Bank of Indiana. Fred Glass will start in the position this fall. He says one of his priorities is fully closing the meal gap within the 21 central Indiana counties that the food bank serves.
There's enough food. It's about getting it to the right people, the right time, the right format.
Glass is currently a partner at the Taft Law Firm in Indianapolis. Richland Bean Blossom Community School Corporation voted in 2017 to close the old Steinsville Elementary School, and now the building is on the brink of a new life. Monroe County Council approved $164,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds Tuesday to renovate the building into a shelter for trafficked women. Sojourn House will offer a 24-month residential program, which includes case management, education, and career training.
We realized that with the closing of Steinsville Elementary School, we had an opportunity to use a beautiful historic building that's still so useful and sturdy and lovely and meaningful, but we could repurpose it.
Sojourn House will only occupy one secured hallway, which includes 9 bathrooms and bedrooms. Well, that's all the time we have for headlines. Perry, back to you.
Thank you, Holden. Thousands of Ukrainians are helping in the effort to defend their country. After the Russian invasion, people from all walks of life joined to help the Ukrainian territorial defense, including an IU graduate student. Mitch Legan connected with her over Zoom and shares her story.
Looking back at it, Daphna Rachak finds some irony in the day she returned home to Ukraine.
It's kind of funny because we came back, we returned on Ukraine's Independence Day. It was August 24th.
Rachak had returned to continue her HIV research for IU's Department of Anthropology. But less than 6 months into the project, Russia's invasion put her priorities elsewhere.
But when the full-scale invasion happened, basically we also reoriented ourselves a little bit to becoming volunteers. So we have been like full-time volunteers with like a flavor of researchers, so to say.
Now, Rachak and her partner Ivan have been helping coordinate Ukraine's territorial defense. Initially, they were helping relocate people fleeing the country, connecting them with housing or helping them find a way out of Ukraine. They also assisted with media projects to help get their message out. But as the war has dragged on, that mission has turned to assisting defense forces.
He essentially packed her mother's car and started to drive. We would go to Lviv in Western Ukraine, pack the whole car, drive to Kyiv, Kryvyi Rih, a few other cities, communicate with people. Mostly I was driving, Daphna was on the phone, constantly communicating with people and trying to get what are the needs there.
Shmatko remembers when they got a request from some fighters for night vision goggles. He tried using some cryptocurrency to send a pair their way, but that didn't work out. So he hopped on an overnight train to buy some. He paid cash and delivered the goggles himself.
We don't work like big funds or big organizations. We are quick, fast in our response, and we are generally driven by very precise needs of the people.
They're now focusing more on logistics and connecting people with resources rather than delivering things themselves. They recently traveled to Mykolaiv, a frontline city on the Black Sea, to help with media coverage of fighting there.
Everyone is saying like, oh my God, this is so close to the front lines. Please be careful. Please take good care of yourself and blah, blah, blah. And then you come to Mykolaiv and it's pretty calm over here.
Rachak says daily explosions remind people of the Russian threat, but the war has really become a part of everyday life for Ukrainians. While many women and children left at the beginning, some have come back, hoping to help their country in any way they can.
The closer you are to the actual conflict, in a weird and odd way, the easier you feel, because you are in the moment, you know what to do, you have a lot of things to do, and you don't have to constantly think and overthink about, okay, like what is going to happen.
The war in Ukraine is in its 3rd month, with no signs of stopping anytime soon. Rachak says she'll help as long as she's needed.
What we are doing, it's necessary work, but I wouldn't say that we are like particularly brave or something.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
It's been about 7 years since residents in Franklin raised concerns about the number of children with cancer in the area. Rebecca Thiel reports now that the Environmental Protection Agency has a plan to address what many believe is likely responsible: polluted groundwater from an old industrial site.
The EPA wants to inject the groundwater in and around the Amphenol site with material that will make the harmful chemicals in the water less toxic, including barriers that break down chemicals as water flows through.
The kind of remedy that we are doing, we've already tested out at the site, and we think it'll be very effective.
Most of the cleanup would take 2 to 3 years. The agency would then monitor the groundwater for 10 years to make sure the pollution breaks down naturally. Franklin resident Bill Harmoning says he has friends who have lost children and thanked the EPA for addressing the issue.
It's just too many. One is too many, and I pray that you'll never leave any stone unturned.
But a consultant with the group If It Was Your Child says the public needs more time to comment on the plan. A lot has happened at the site since the last public meeting 2 years ago, including a pandemic. The public comment period ends in less than a month. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
The EPA said it would consider extending the deadline for public comments and encouraged the group to request an extension with the Community Involvement Coordinator. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.